What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In this episode, I'm talking about Leprechaun 4 in space. Yes, you heard that correctly. Leprechaun 4 in space. It's another horror movie that went to space. And basically, the plot line is simple. It's just Leprechaun wreaking havoc in space and killing people. That's it. But the weird thing is that this movie is more so weirder than any of the previous entries of the Leprechaun movies. It's definitely weirder than 1, 2, and 3 combined. And the reason I say that is because in the movie, at the beginning, something happens to the Leprechaun. And there's a scene where one of the characters urinates on the Leprechaun. And the spirit of the Leprechaun travels into this man's penis. And later on emerges out of it in another scene. Yeah, you heard that correctly, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you listening. It's weird, it's unsettling, it's creepy, it makes you cringe. It's probably one of the most weirdest scenes I've seen in a horror movie. And this is actually categorized in the genre of a science fiction black comedy slasher film. What the hell? Who is categorizing this shit? Seriously. This is nowhere near a comedy movie. It's a dreadful, horrible movie. You go from the fun comedic turn of which is the third movie, and you go into space in this one. Movie studios really have a problem with taking and giving their horror icons. I don't want to say Leprechaun's a horror icon, and putting them into space. I mean, what option do you have? Like, you can go anywhere in the world. What about Leprechaun 4 in Hawaii? Listen, that is a missed opportunity right there, what I just said. Leprechaun 4 in Hawaii would have been much more hilarious. Seeing Warwick Davis riding a surfboard with shades on, wearing a Hawaiian shirt would have been so much fun, and definitely better than Leprechaun 4 in space. Warwick Davis does return to reprise his role as Lubden the Leprechaun, and this was also a straight-to-video release in 1997. So 2 years after Leprechaun 3, the fourth movie was released. It has a running time of 95 minutes, and the budget for it was $3 million. So once again, these movies have short running times, and the budget is really short. But the execution for Leprechaun 4 in space was not that good at all. There are some death scenes that you just look at it and you scratch your head like, okay, that happened. That's impossible how it happened, I think. And then, you just laugh at it because the way things are done. Listen, if you're like me, you watched this movie because you wanted to see how bad it was, and the director of the fourth Leprechaun movie also directed the previous entry, the third movie, Leprechaun 3 in Vegas. So I'm really surprised he returned for this fourth movie, and, he made part 3 better than part 4, that's for sure. And like I said, the Leprechaun in this looks more different than the other 3 Leprechauns that were in the movies. I don't know if that's like different stages of feel, or if these leprechauns are coming out of certain areas or rainbows or pot of gold and they're just terrorizing different people. And of course, I'm pretty sure that there's a timeline somewhere of where these movies take place in order. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, Leprechaun 4 definitely takes place in the future, because this is much more so in space, because in the beginning of the movie it says it's 2096. So this movie definitely takes place near in the future, and this is definitely the last movie in the timeline. How it plays out, I don't know. It's interesting. And the weird factor about this movie is that there is a giant leprechaun in this. That's all I'm going to say. There's a giant leprechaun, ladies and gentlemen. A giant leprechaun that looks hilarious, funny, and with the CGI it looks just terrible. Just terrible. Oh my God, this is one of those movies where you watch it, you're just like, can I get my 95 minutes back of my life? Because that's what I need. Because that's what I want back. And, after you watch this movie, you can't get those 95 minutes back. I sure as hell didn't. And whenever it's on, I have to skip it because, I've only seen this movie once because I wanted to see how weird and interesting it was. And it was weird and interesting. I'll give you that. And other than that, I haven't seen it, and I haven't talked about it until now. And being a movie critic, I actually didn't even review this movie, for certain horror things. But, looking back on it now, it's a good thing that I am talking about it now because, it's 1997, it was a straight-to-video release, and it was Leprechaun in space. That's all it was. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Leprechaun 4 in space. And if you saw it and if you checked it out, what did you think of it? And do you think it's the weirdest entry in the Leprechaun movies? Plus, do you see this as the weirdest horror movie in space? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear your answers. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. All right, everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.
Hold that for me, will you, lad? Make way for the